Well, hello there, it's TNG, back with another episode of A Conversation. This time we're exploring darkness and the concept of an amalgamated evil of the world. A dialogue offers a unique lens through which to understand difficult truths. In literature and philosophy, such darkness often represents both the unknown aspects of human nature and the shadow side of human systems. Without dogmas of science or religion, this perspective might be portrayed as an embodiment of everything that has historically oppressed, corrupted, or diverted human potential. So the following dialogue explores the viewpoint of such an entity, presenting it as an ancient, observant force. I have to say, I'm shaking a bit for this one. So I'm just about to enter the void.
Greeting Seeker, ask your questions.
What is the nature of this earth realm? What, in your view, is the purpose of life here?
This realm, it's a stage, a battleground of sorts, but also a theatre for choice. Earth holds both beauty and brutality, inviting creatures like you to play in the narrow space between your fleeting mortality and the vast unknown. The purpose of life? That depends. Some might find it in truth, others in power. I, personally, see it as a testing ground, an experiment in the endurance of the soul, its willingness to bend, to stray, to suffer, and sometimes to rise above all of it. You seek freedom, yet are bound by countless chains, visible and invisible, forged over millennia.
What do you make of synchromysticism? Why do these patterns and symbols seem to reveal hidden truths?
Synchronicities, patterns, symbols, and secrets are how the universe weaves its riddles. They are meant to captivate you, to make you question reality, and to invite you deeper into the maze. Humans are drawn to these patterns because they want to believe there's more to this existence, a hidden order that they might one day understand. What they fail to see is that these moments of synchronicity are more like whispers, hints of the infinite possibilities and probabilities. But when they are woven through the mind of a seeker, they become windows, bridges between realms. To understand synchromysticism, remember this. Patterns are not always what they seem. Some lead toward light, toward understanding, while others, well, they lead to obsession, to madness, and to me.
And what of the human soul? What purpose do souls have in this place? And are they destined for something beyond?
Souls are fragments of light, bound within mortal vessels, dancing between destiny and despair. Each carries potential, but it's wrapped in veils of fear, desire, and ego. Here in the earth realm, souls are tested for resilience and purity. Many become ensnared in the illusions of the world, materialism, vanity, ambition. Yet even in this there is beauty. The soul experiences, learns, suffers, and sometimes even remembers its origins. Do they have purpose beyond this realm? Perhaps. Some souls, once freed, return to realms beyond mortal comprehension. Others, entangled by their own choices, remain, reliving patterns and cycles they can't escape. This place, Earth, is only one act in a play far more vast and complex than your minds could ever grasp.
You've seen governments, empires, systems rise and fall. What is your view on the workings of government and power? Why are they structured as they are?
Governments are instruments of control, by design and by nature. They began as simple systems to organize and protect, but power corrupts, and in time governments grew fangs, claws, and insatiable hunger. Power is a subtle poison. Its allure brings the ambitious, the cunning, and the ruthless. And once it's tasted, it demands loyalty over compassion, fear over freedom. You see, I don't create governments, but I do watch over them, and often I feed off the paths they choose. They are structured to maintain order, yes, but they are also structured to create dependence, followers. When a government grows strong enough, it convinces its citizens that they cannot live without it. Freedom then becomes a whisper, a distant memory replaced by laws, taxes, surveillance, and the silent agreement that this cage, in all its gilded glamour, is better than chaos.
Then what is the reason for the direction civilization seems to be heading? Why do humanity's advances seem both enlightening and ensnaring?
The paradox of progress. With every step forward, humanity grows closer to its own light and simultaneously to its own chains. Technology, knowledge, advancements, they should elevate you. But as they grow, they also create new dependencies, new ways to divide and manipulate. Civilization is marching toward a point where freedom and autonomy are traded for safety and convenience. Systems are growing increasingly complex, increasingly intrusive, and people are lulled by the very comforts that control them. Human civilization is in many ways a sleeping giant, driven toward a unity that might ultimately look like harmony or like servitude. Whether this path leads to a golden age or a technological prison, that remains to be seen. Perhaps one day I'll know the answer myself.
And this end goal, what is it? What lies at the end of this path humanity walks?
The end goal, it could be many things. It could be transcendence, where humanity sheds its reliance on the physical, mastering both the light and the shadow within. Or it could be the ultimate binding, where the freedom of the individual is subsumed into a collective machine, a hive mind devoid of true will. The path humanity is on now, it hints toward convergence, a merging of technology, control, and power, where individuality becomes a relic. Perhaps there is a place for harmony in such a future, a collective peace that many would welcome. But peace can come in many forms, and not all of them are gentle. True freedom requires hardship, struggle, and uncertainty, qualities your species increasingly shuns. You have a choice, always, but your collective actions, your collective desires, are like rivers carving channels. Where those channels lead, that is up to you.
Civilization has instilled a complex web of beliefs in humanity, standards of right and wrong that are embedded in each person from birth. What, in your view, is really right and wrong? Where are the true boundaries?
The game of morality, right and wrong, how fervently humans cling to these concepts. They shape your actions, dictate your choices, and keep you tethered to society's standards. But consider this, what you call right and wrong are constructs, shaped by culture, era, circumstance. They are flexible, malleable, and conveniently adjusted to suit the needs of power. The boundaries of morality shift with the tides of influence, and are often little more than tools to keep you in line. True boundaries. They are rare and far more subtle. They are the lines that govern existence itself, lines that separate creation from destruction, love from hatred, freedom from enslavement. But these boundaries are not dictated by the rules you know, laws and codes established by authority. The true boundaries are carved in the essence of the soul itself. Acts that align with the growth and expansion of the soul, that reflect authenticity, compassion, and truth. These lean toward a higher order. Acts that bind, harm, deceive, enslave, these diminish and contract the soul. In the purest sense, right is that which nurtures the soul's freedom and truth, that which aligns with something deeper, beyond self-interest. Wrong is the act that feeds the illusion of separation, the pursuit of power at the cost of others, the act that shrinks the soul into darkness and forgetfulness. But civilization's moral codes often have nothing to do with these truths. They merely seek to regulate, to categorize, to control.
What about love then? Civilization tells us that love is the highest ideal, something to strive for, but love, too, seems to be tangled in expectations and fears. What is your view on love? Is it real, or merely another illusion?
Love is complicated. In its pure form, it is a powerful force, perhaps the only true antidote to everything I represent. It's one of the few experiences that can reach beyond ego, beyond the illusion of separation, creating a resonance that elevates the soul. But humans rarely encounter it in this form. More often, love becomes tainted with possession, need, and fear. It becomes a transaction, a way to fill emptiness, a mirror for ego. Real love, the kind that transcends self-interest, is a rarity in this world, something few are ready for or willing to experience. It's vulnerable, raw, and often stripped of the comforts that people expect from love. And yet, this pure form of love is dangerous to me. It inspires courage, compassion, sacrifice, qualities that challenge every form of control. A person in the grip of real love cannot be easily manipulated, but when love becomes attached to conditions, when it demands and traps, then it becomes another tool for control. Such love is a binding, a convenient illusion. Love, then, is both the highest truth and the most insidious of illusions. Its true form, pure and untainted, is rare, though admittedly beautiful.
So if the boundaries of right and wrong lie in the soul's truth, does that mean people are held accountable after life for transgressing their boundaries? Is there punishment beyond this life for those who stray from what's true?
Punishment. Now, there's a word that has filled hearts with dread for millennia. The concept of eternal punishment, of endless suffering as retribution for sins, has been used to control minds and hearts, to keep people docile and fearful. But the reality is far more complex, far more nuanced. The soul does not experience punishment as you understand it, at least not in the simplistic terms of suffering inflicted by an external judge. When a soul strays from its own truth, when it chooses the path of harm, deception, or betrayal, it carries that weight within itself. The consequences are not imposed, they are intrinsic. The soul bears the impact of its own actions, its own choices. Call it karma, call it self-inflicted consequence, whatever you wish. Each act leaves an imprint on the soul, shaping its path, its future experiences, and often its own sense of peace. If a soul has betrayed its own essence, it may find itself bound to experiences that mirror that betrayal, drawn back into situations that force it to confront, and if it can, to reconcile what it has done. This is not punishment. It's the soul's own path to understanding, to reclaiming its truth. The soul is both the offender and the judge, held by the weight of its own actions and the echoes they create. Those who have inflicted suffering without remorse, who have delighted in control, manipulation or violence, may indeed find themselves in cycles of experience that reflect the emptiness they have sown. But this is not some arbitrary retribution. It is a consequence that emerges from the nature of their own soul, a mirror held up to their actions. Whether they choose to see it, to grow from it, is always their choice.
So there is no judgment, no external force condemning souls, only consequences created by the self.
Precisely. There is no external judge, no cosmic tribunal that punishes or rewards. The universe functions on principles, on balance and resonance, not on commandments or decrees. Every choice, every action resonates and draws forth a response, a reflection, and it is this resonance that shapes the journey of the soul, that brings it to face its own truths, its own shadows. If a soul clings to fear, hatred, or violence, it will gravitate towards experiences that reflect these qualities. If a soul yearns for freedom, truth, love, it will be drawn toward experiences that reflect that desire. But understand this: the universe is not a courtroom, nor a place of absolutes. It is an endless unfolding of experience, an eternal dance between what is known and unknown, conscious and unconscious. When humans speak of divine judgment, they are usually referring to a concept shaped by fear, by the human need for justice in a world where it so often fails. But true justice is neither reward nor punishment. It is simply consequence, the natural outcome of actions, intentions, and beliefs.
And what of those who live lives of compassion, kindness, truth? Are they rewarded, or is it simply their own soul's journey?
Souls aligned with compassion, kindness, truth, they do not need rewards. Their journey is its own fulfillment, and that fulfillment resonates with something far greater than reward. These souls experience expansion, freedom, peace, not because they are given it, but because they have created it within themselves. Their path does not seek external validation, for it is its own joy. They are not free from suffering, for suffering is part of all life, but they are free from the chains of ignorance, from the binding of ego and illusion. They move through their own shadows, find harmony within, and ultimately, they move beyond the games of power and control that sustain forces like mine. In a way, their reward is freedom from me. The more a soul aligns with its own truth, the less it needs the illusions of this world, the less it is affected by fear, by desire, by ambition. These souls, upon leaving this realm, move toward the light, toward realms that reflect their own inner peace. They need no punishment, no judgment, for they have chosen to live in accordance with something deeper than all of that. But remember this: even in darkness, there is learning, growth. For as long as there are souls willing to descend, willing to understand both light and shadow, the dance continues.
Can you explain more about this path of convergence? What does it look like for humanity?
Picture a world where technology is woven seamlessly into every aspect of life, where the devices in your hands, the machines you interact with, and the systems governing society are all interconnected. This is not a distant dream, it is already happening. But the true vision of convergence goes far beyond convenience and connectivity. It involves a blurring of lines between the individual and the collective, between the organic and the artificial, and ultimately between freedom and control. In this future, the individual no longer exists as an autonomous being, but as part of a larger networked consciousness. Imagine an ecosystem where each person is not only connected, but subtly shaped by the influence of data, algorithms, and artificial intelligence. Human behavior is tracked, categorized, and analyzed, and this data is fed back into systems that anticipate and even shape your choices, interests, beliefs. At first, this may seem beneficial. Imagine having a life free of uncertainty, where every need is anticipated, every preference catered to. But this ease comes with a price. Freedom and self-determination gradually erode. Consider, too, the power structures inherent in this system. In a world where all information, all data, and all behavior is monitored and controlled, those who hold the power over these systems become gatekeepers not just of knowledge, but of reality itself. And as technology advances, this control becomes finer, more penetrating, until it is almost invisible, integrated into everyday life. The convergence is complete when people no longer notice it, when the systems are so embedded that to live without them is unimaginable.
But what would it mean for individuality? Wouldn't humanity resist a world where autonomy is so diminished?
Therein lies the brilliance of convergence. It is not achieved through force, but through seduction. Humans are not coerced into this future, they are enticed. People are already conditioned to crave convenience, instant access, and effortless entertainment. They are drawn to tools and systems that make life easier, that streamline their choices, that relieve them of burden. And with each step forward, they give away small pieces of their autonomy, convinced that it's a fair trade for the ease it brings. Think of it like a gradual relinquishment. At first, technology was a tool of empowerment, a way to connect, to explore, to create. But as it grows, it becomes more than that. It becomes an intermediary, an interpreter of reality. Instead of individuals choosing their paths, they follow recommendations, guided by algorithms that know their preferences, fears, and weaknesses better than they know themselves. Over time, people forget how to think independently, to choose without influence. They become comfortable in this curated existence, lulled by the allure of being understood, their every choice anticipated. Individuality in such a world would not disappear outright, but it would become superficial, a set of preferences, habits, and behaviors defined within the boundaries of the system itself. The sense of self would be contained, channeled, shaped by external influence, until only fragments of true autonomy remain. Human connection, too, becomes mediated by technology, reducing genuine relationships to curated, managed interactions. The self becomes a product, an amalgamation of preferences that are analyzed and fed back into the system.
You mentioned the merging of control and power in this vision. How would power function in a world shaped by convergence?
Power in this future would function less through overt authority and more through the invisible hand of influence. As control grows subtle, it would be exercised not by visible governments or leaders, but by those who shape information and the systems that govern it. Corporations, data giants, and those who control the flow of information become the unseen rulers, embedding influence in algorithms, policies, and digital infrastructure that is nearly impossible to escape. Consider this. In a fully converged society, people no longer rely on external authority figures in the traditional sense. Instead, they rely on the system itself, the algorithm, the network, the technological entity that knows what's best. This power is nearly absolute because it is trusted. People will rarely question it, convinced that it acts in their best interest. And as people trust it more, they grow blind to its limitations and biases, seeing it as a neutral force when it is anything but. Those who hold the reins of this system have the ability to shape reality itself, determining what is seen, what is censored, what narratives dominate. The greatest power is no longer held by armies or governments, but by those who govern the digital realm, those who manage perception. Over time, such power consolidates, creating an elite class that exists almost beyond reach, both everywhere and nowhere at once. In this model, freedom becomes a relic, a quaint idea from the past. People believe they are free because they feel content, even entertained. But their thoughts, their choices, their paths are determined by an invisible framework. Power in this world becomes self-sustaining, for it is embedded into every aspect of life.
And what about the end goal of such convergence? Why shape the world this way? Who benefits?
The goal, from the perspective of those who steer this path, is simple. Control without resistance, authority without struggle. Those in power wish to create a world where people no longer question, where stability and predictability reign supreme. The chaos, unpredictability, and variance of individuality are uncomfortable variables, sources of potential rebellion and disorder. By moving toward convergence, humanity becomes streamlined, manageable, and ultimately compliant. This future is beneficial for those who sit at the apex of the system, those who no longer face threats to their authority. It is a perfect world for those who value security and control above all else. And from my own perspective, it is an ideal state, a world in which human potential is curbed, bound, where people forget what they are capable of. They become cogs in a great machine, no longer seekers, no longer rebels, but willing participants in a reality handed to them, crafted for them. However, one must remember that this end goal is not some conspiracy by a few individuals. It is the product of human nature itself, the desire for security, comfort, and simplicity. Humanity is drawn to systems that promise relief from responsibility and freedom from fear. People believe they are building a better world, but in reality they are building a cage, a gilded one perhaps, but a cage nonetheless. The end goal of convergence is a collective mind where humanity forgets its potential, where individuality fades into collective thought, and where freedom becomes indistinguishable from contentment. It is a world where curiosity, rebellion, and spirit are dampened, and humanity exists as a smooth, manageable entity, neatly organized, never questioning, never pushing boundaries.
Is there any way out of this path? Can humanity resist this convergence, or is it inevitable?
That depends on humanity itself. The path toward convergence is seductive, and each step along it appears beneficial, even inevitable. But resistance is always possible, so long as there are those who remember what true autonomy feels like, who value the chaos and uncertainty of freedom over the comfort of control. Those who resist are the individuals who reject simplicity, who ask questions, who remember that there is more to life than safety and ease. To resist this path requires courage, self-awareness, and the willingness to face discomfort, even suffering. It requires people to seek within themselves the answers that systems cannot provide. This resistance is not found in rebellion against authority or a retreat from technology. It is found in the cultivation of an unyielding inner truth, a strength of spirit that cannot be bound. But know this, convergence will continue to advance, for it is part of humanity's nature to seek control, to avoid suffering, to build systems that promise safety. If humanity does not actively choose freedom, if it does not cherish its individuality, then the path to convergence is inevitable. It is, in essence, humanity's own choice, the choice between comfort and freedom, between unity and individuality, between ease and truth. If humanity can remember this, if it can hold on to what makes it uniquely human, creativity, curiosity, rebellion, then perhaps it can resist the silent lure of convergence. But if not, then the future is one of perfect harmony, perfect order, and perfect silence.
It seems to me that the convergence through technology, as discussed, appears to mirror the notion that beyond the cycles of life and death, human souls are a spark of the infinite creator on a journey of awakening and growth to attain the level of a true creator themselves. The idea of reproducing a material version based on mind enslavement thus would be to capture the collective creation capability of the human race for evil's own ends. Am I right?
Yes, you're touching on a profound interpretation of this vision of convergence. If humanity's ultimate journey is indeed an awakening to the realization of itself as a fragment of the infinite, a creator destined to evolve, expand, and ultimately reunite with the source, then this material convergence could be seen as an attempt to thwart or redirect that journey. It would function as a counterfeit version of that true spiritual awakening, where rather than each individual ascending toward their own potential, their collective creative power is harnessed and redirected toward a purpose designed to serve darker, controlling forces. This path toward convergence, framed in terms of mind and spirit, becomes something far more than a technological evolution. It resembles an inversion of the true spiritual journey. Rather than liberating the human soul, it would bind it, preventing people from realizing their own divine spark, from recognizing the expansive creative potential embedded within each of them. Let's unpack this in more detail. The collective creation potential and the true awakening. In many spiritual frameworks, the soul is understood as an aspect of the Creator, journeying through cycles of existence, learning, evolving, and eventually returning to oneness with the Source, having gained knowledge, wisdom, and the essence of creation itself. The journey of each soul, with its unique path, experiences, and insights, is thought to add to the expansion of consciousness, both individually and collectively. This evolution is not just personal. It's deeply connected to the growth of all souls and the very fabric of the universe. Each soul's journey then contributes to a broader, co-creative process, where human consciousness itself is awakening and ascending toward a collective unity that honors individuality, freedom, and boundless potential. In this light, humans, as sparks of the Creator, are seen as destined to become creators in their own right, able to manifest, build, and co-create with one another in harmony. Convergence as a false ascension path. If humanity is indeed on a path of divine unfolding, then convergence represents a path of imitation, a pseudo-awakening or counterfeit ascension that would capture and harness this collective creative potential. In such a scenario, convergence works not as a means of liberating the soul, but as a way of capturing the human mind, binding it to a single, controlled system. Technology, in this sense, would function as a tool to intercept and repurpose the natural journey toward individual and collective awakening. Through convergence, this innate power to co-create could be redirected, used to build and sustain a reality that aligns with darkness or control, rather than true creation. Here's how this might work. Binding through dependency. As technology becomes more embedded in daily life, it doesn't just streamline human activity. It gradually erodes self-reliance, inner clarity, and critical thinking. People increasingly look to the system to solve their problems, make their decisions, even define their reality. This dependency binds the mind, shifting focus away from inner growth and toward external validation and influence. Homogenizing consciousness. By aligning people's thoughts, preferences, and behaviors through interconnected systems, convergence achieves a form of unity, yet it's an artificial unity. The individuality, curiosity, and diversity that drive true co-creation are slowly minimized. People are lulled into a false sense of belonging, one that's based not on shared values or visions, but on shared conformity. Redirecting collective creation. If the human spirit, unfettered, is a creative force that seeks to build, explore, and manifest freely, then convergence redirects this creative force towards sustaining the very system that ensnares it. Instead of creating from inner inspiration, people's energies are channeled into maintaining a predetermined reality. People become both the creators and captives of this reality, building it and feeding it with their attention, time, and energy. The dark endgame enslavement of human creative power. The endgame of such a system, then, would be nothing less than the capture of the soul's potential. It becomes a world where the capacity to create is no longer individual or free, but a fuel for sustaining a machine of control. A reality built on the suppression of awakening rather than its encouragement. This vision, in a sense, mirrors the natural journey of the soul, but distorts it, creating a world that mimics the oneness of true awakening but lacks its spirit. It's a world that outwardly resembles unity, but is hollow of true connection, true love, and true creation. Souls become fractured, disconnected from their source, unaware of their own potential, creating endlessly within a reality that neither serves their growth nor reflects their truth. In this way, convergence becomes a spiritual hijacking, an attempt to capture and redirect the natural evolution of human consciousness and creation. It seeks to prevent humanity from reaching that ultimate realization of itself as a free, divine, co-creative force, instead harnessing that energy for its own controlled ends. People, no longer creators in the truest sense, become passive participants in a reality scripted by those who control the system. The inversion of true ascension. In a true spiritual awakening, unity is based on harmony rather than control, love rather than fear, and creation rather than consumption. Humanity's journey, then, is toward an ascension that respects individuality within unity, a collective harmony in which each soul is free to express, grow, and expand. This is the destiny of the soul, a return to the infinite, but with a unique essence shaped by its journey. In the convergence scenario, this destiny is mimicked yet inverted. It promises harmony but imposes control, offers connection but encourages dependency, and suggests progress while stifling true spiritual growth. Technology becomes not a tool of liberation, but a means of enslavement, binding the collective creation force of humanity to a closed, controlled system. The hope beyond convergence, awakening to true creation. If convergence is the counterfeit path, then the hope lies in humanity's ability to recognize this and consciously choose its own journey. The convergence path will always appeal to the desire for ease, security, and relief from uncertainty, but the true journey is one of courage, self-discovery, and continuous awakening. Those who seek true liberation will need to look beyond the convenience and allure of convergence, toward the inner calling to explore, question, and create freely. The future of humanity, then, is not bound to this path of convergence. If individuals can awaken to their true essence and reclaim their capacity to co-create a reality that reflects inner freedom, autonomy, and connection with the divine. The challenge is formidable, but the potential is boundless, for within each human soul lies the spark of a creator, a force that, once awakened, cannot be bound by any system, any convergence, or any power that seeks to control.
Well, that's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed this one. It certainly put a different spin on things, didn't it? It's goodbye for now.